Welcome, everyone. I'm Rambo, and welcome to the Echoes of New Eden. Got a great episode for you today. I'll go over a couple game items, leadership expectations in the roundtable, and then we'll get into the interview I had with Daemonxel, and we talked about content creation and much more. Let's check it out. Not much going on this week. The weekly ban notice for last week came out. That was 51,909 accounts got banned. 86% of those banned accounts were for abnormal anomaly behavior. Nothing new in the patch notes as of right now. I'm sure those will release later this evening. So let's get to the roundtable segment. Welcome to the Eve Echoes Roundtable. This segment of the show, we will discuss an Eve Echoes topic provided to us by a fan of the show, chosen at random. Are you guys ready?
We are ready.
This evening, we got my wife, Allie.
I pressed the wrong button.
You need to not
Hello.
Then we got E-Rock.
Hello.
Terp.
Hello.
And then Rhino.
What's up?
All right, so time to draw for the topic.
And the winner is...
All right. What are your expectations of corporation leadership? Oh, this could be a stinger. Actually, and you know what? For once, E-Rock, you're not at the top of the list. So we'll start with Allie. Expectations of corporation leadership.
Well, I would first say, of course, to give support to their members in the corporation, to be a voice for the members within the alliance. So kind of really getting to have a close relationship with your members. So then that way you know what your members are looking for. So if plans change, you need to move to a different alliance, or the alliance is going a different direction, or trying to figure out where to get your corp to be more involved. If you kind of know more of where your players feel about the game, what they feel about the corp, what they like to do, just get to know them basically, then you can have a better chance of being able to do what the members want and be a representative for the corp.
E-Rock, you got something to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think probably the most important stuff are basic corporate services. So with that, you have ore, mineral, planetary buybacks, which is important, especially when you're out in null. It provides the corp with raw materials for production, to feed ship replacement programs, to feed market operations, just even selling ships to corp members at reasonable rates. But it also lets your corp members earn ISK, which is important, and so they don't have to run to JITA to sell all the stuff. I mean, they still can if they want better pricing. Often there's a discount for on prices for those services. So I think that's probably the most important one. Aside from that, so the buyback program, ship replace program, really important to help defend corporate assets and corporate space, alliance space. And then I think communication is probably the most important in terms of keeping everyone rowing in the same direction, and knowing where your membership stands on issues, and anything that you can do to help with membership, and events and things like that. And also communication for defensive operations and offensive operations. So it's so yeah, for me it's a combination of really providing the services that are needed for the corporation, and also the communication and then the camaraderie that comes with that, of the player base. And if any of those really suffer, you could potentially have a corporation that falls apart because of that. So I think that's really important. And then, the kind of layers on, the communication, there's a whole separate alliance layer that is integrated in with corporation, but it's kind of separate. And that's where communication is also more important than, the services on an alliance level. Which stuff gets used first? Do people use the corp services or alliance services? And it's got to have really a game plan for all that, so people aren't confused. It's kind of, make it easier for people to understand, and things will go well.
Right. So my expectations of corporation leadership, and really this is the first time I've ever had to deal with this type of stuff in a game. So I look at it as like my boss in my real life work job, like my real life job. You have to look up to these people. You have to have people that you would want to follow. And those people, it's like, what expectations do you have of your boss? They got to be dedicated. They have to know what they're doing. They'd have to be able to answer all of your questions. If they can't answer your questions, then they know somebody who can. They'll stop and drop whatever they're doing to help you. That's kind of what I expect out of leadership, whether it be in a real life job or in a corporation, such as in a game like this. So, and coming from a leadership position in the corp, I try to mirror that as best as possible. So yeah, the human resources portion of it is, you take in complaints, you try to make everybody happy. You steer the boat, whichever direction that it needs to go. You make kind of harder decisions, whether it's good or bad. And I think a lot of people in the corp need to rely on that and then trust your judgment in that. So the expectations, I would say, number one is just the dedication. And if you don't have dedicated leaders to be able to lead the corp, and they go off and they do their own things, or I suppose step away for a while and nobody ever hears from them, then you're kind of lost, and you don't really, and the corpse seems lost in general. So without that upper leadership structure, then a corporation can't run. So I expect a lot out of leadership, and I don't know, I guess that's just me.
No, you're right, and it's and especially important, especially the interpersonal stuff. About your boss, your leader who you can trust and go to for things. Is in this game, it's not like it's your work. It's not like you're getting your income from this and you're more tied to it because of that. But this is a game, and people they vote with their feet, and if they're not happy with leadership, they have no problem moving somewhere else. So it's important for leadership to make themselves accessible and have a good pulse of what's going on with members, and building a good rapport and camaraderie as a group, and it just really having a more tighter knit group really just helps with that.
Terp, what are your expectations?
Yeah, so I guess I'm looking at just from a slightly different lens. So the lifeblood of the corp is your players, or pilots in this case. None of them are beholden to you. So you're trying to organize a group of volunteers, ask them to give up their time that they want to invest in their own personal objectives to be able to assist with the larger corp objectives. So you only have so many knobs and dials you can turn to make that happen. So the leaders have to set the culture of the corp. What are the expectations? What's the peer pressure? Maybe it's something as simple as we don't steal blue PI cans. If in doubt, leave it alone. It's that shaping and molding, because that becomes the engine of the growth and the health for the corp. Is everybody starting to kind of becoming a team and working together and sacrificing from their own personal objectives to achieve the bigger corp objectives. And then from the alliance standpoint, the lifeblood of the alliances are the corps. If you have unhealthy corps, then you have an unhealthy alliance. Or if you have a bunch of selfish corps, then you're going to end up with either a starved alliance or an alliance that rewards being selfish. Then there's the day-to-day stuff, right? The logistics and ISK conversion and ore and buybacks and all those things. Recruiting, holy cow, recruiting. I've only dabbled in it briefly in this game, and I've supported it in other games. Recruiting other volunteers, super, super hard. It's the reason those positions burn out so fast, especially in a game that may not necessarily be growing in new players. It's growing maybe in new alts, but not necessarily new players coming into the game. So my expectations for corp leadership, they got to set the tone for the culture, set the tone for volunteering and helping each other out. They're leading by example, and they're leading by being out in front. And more often than not, they're the ones that's leading the groups, they're leading the ops, and they're specifically finding that next generation of folks could go do it so they can hand it off so then they can go work on the next problem area.
Rhino?
Pretty much just about everything's been touched on as far as it goes, but yeah, pretty much, biggest thing with the leadership is just making sure that they have clear communication, transparency with the group, to a point. I mean, the group doesn't have to, dabble in every little thing that's going on, but at the same time, the leaders that are there need to make sure that they have other leaders or officers or however they wish to delegate in positions for redundancy in case people do step away from the game, whether it be permanently, whether it be switching corps, whether it be just taking a break. Some of the biggest things is like once a goal is gone and the leaders aren't really there to help select whatever your next goal is, whether it be an industry-based corp or PvE or PvP or whatever you based it on. Once there isn't a goal or something there, it's very hard to keep some of the more casual players interested without knowing where the direction is or knowing where the ISK or the next mission or wherever that's coming from. And it definitely falls on the shoulders of the leadership to make sure that there is some sort of goal in mind, in sight, whether it be expansion or what have you.
Right, faith and trust, right? So one of those two, you can only go at the speed of trust, and you have to have faith and leadership, which ties back to that communications. You just got to be able to clearly communicate, and I don't think they have to focus so much on keeping people happy, but they do need to be honest and need to be transparent, and there needs to be an accountability to that. But the leaders holding themselves accountable to each other, not the corp members holding the leadership accountable, because it's very easy to hold them accountable. You leave if you don't agree with what you're doing.
Right.
But all it takes is one leader being slightly out of sync, or maybe in a spot where they get stuck. Maybe they're not the world's best communicator, but they're the ones that got stuck with it because everyone else is busy. That's that's the hard trick, and it's all a juggling act.
Yeah, managing burnout is rough, because people are. You need to make sure you're using the strong suits of each of your leaders, and when other people have to step in and do a certain role that maybe they're not inclined to do or don't enjoy as much, they get burned out even quicker that way. And so, really, I do think that having multiple people, being involved in decision making and being involved in certain endeavors, and it was cross-trained, if you will, the knowing what's going on in these areas, even if they're not being the primary person, so they can step in and help and maybe take over that if somebody else is really busy in real life and can't work in those areas.
Right.
That's really important. And it's hard to do, especially as because you're like, gosh, I feel like I'm doing all this other stuff. Why do I need to go do this when somebody else is doing this? It's like, well, it helps when people can just step in, because it's burnout is a regular thing, as with any game, and this is your leaders are giving a lot of their personal free time to do certain things, a lot of like project planning and other stuff that is not immediately apparent inside the game. Especially Eve is known for spreadsheets in space, and if you're doing a lot of production stuff, you're doing a lot of spreadsheets, or if you're just trying to find best areas for planetary, or if you're trying to scout for new space, for your future home, what be it, you're often got spreadsheets going. So you're doing a lot of, or you're managing people in Discord. There are Discord warriors out there. So it's managing all that and not getting burned out yourself in the process it can be rough. And so it's just important to have redundancies and positions for other people to step in if you or somebody else, can't meet those needs.
Right. And yeah, that's just corporation leadership, not to mention alliance leadership too, has even more of the duties. And and of course, they see if a corp is struggling, they see it. Whether it be in buyback, if they're an industrial corp, or if they're a PvP corp and they're barely making CTAs, the alliance sees that. I don't really have much else to add to that though, but
yeah, and with the alliance
Yeah.
stuff, I think another kind of array with that is that if you are an executor corp of an alliance managing, how who's in charge of alliance level stuff versus corp related stuff, because if your main leaders are in charge at the alliance level, your corp stuff is going to suffer.
right.
And so you need to have other people stepping in and fill those roles to make sure that your corp members are still getting served the best you can.
But I like the point that you had about cross training. And even though everybody is cross trained, one person may not be as readily available as other people, but those other people take it upon themselves to be able to take care of things, sooner than later. Then ultimately they can get burned out because basically they take care of everything, right? Because nobody else gets to it. So that's one thing I could kind of see it as an issue in cross training. But at the same time, if they're not cross trained, and then the person that's dedicated to that can get burnt out regardless, because so
Yeah. Well, and the reason why I think cross training is important is it's kind of like in just in business and in the real world is if you don't have people cross trained, then when someone who is doing that role leaves, then you're not going to be able to provide that service, or you're going to be able to be providing that service to your customers or to your corp members in reduced capacity. And there is definitely, like, for certain people who rely on or buyback services for income, or and whatnot, or even PvP guys, like if you can't get an SRP ship out in a reasonable amount of time because they had a loss, they're not going to be able to go out fighting again until they get a replacement ship. And so they're going to be asking themselves, well, why the hell am I in this corp if I can't even get these basic services? So for certain people, those that's why I was really harping on services to begin with. Is, to me, like, there's a lot of people who, if what's the point of being in the corp if you can't get that? And then layered on top of that is all the other social aspects that are important.
well, that concludes it for this week's roundtable chat. Thank you guys, and we'll see you guys next week for another topic.
See you,
Thanks,
Rambo.
Rambo.
Hey, this is Daemonxel from Echoes of the Front, and you're listening to Echoes of New Eden podcast with Rambo.
Welcome to Echoes of New Eden, my lair. How are you doing, Daemonxel?
I'm good today.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. It's this is the first time that I've actually had a content creator on my show. And you play the game, right? So I think you're pretty eligible to interview, yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm one of those content creators that actually plays on the live server.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so tell us about yourself.
Not much. I started playing in the beta. That's when I ran into a bunch of the guys that formed Atlas, who was the executive corporation of Terran Federation, which basically, in the beginning of the game, took over Fountain and ruled Fountain with fist. Since then, during the Fountain Wars, which was the height, I find, of the propaganda wars from Reddit, we basically just been bouncing around until we found a home in OG currently, and that's where we're residing. Except Atlas, unfortunately went is defunct. It's no more. So I actually merged into Evo 1 or Evolution X, which left Terran Federation with us.
So that's where you're at now then.
Yeah, I'm sitting with OG out in Wicked Creek currently, and people can actually find me if in game at night if you want to come hunting it. You'll see me during
Yeah.
fleet battles and roams and everything else. I've trust me. I actually go solo hunting, and the funny thing is when I do go solo hunting, it's hard to do that because as soon as I enter a system, I get Reds PMing me or whatever, and be like, "Oh, Damon, we love your show. It's great." And I'm like, "Guys, you're being nice to me. I'm here to kill you, and now I can't kill you because you're being
Right.
nice to me."
Yes. In-game celebrities, yeah. I suppose you get a lot of people recognize your name because it's that. Yeah, that's just what you use in your content creation in your videos, and then your in-game name is the same. So there's only one Daemonxel. Well, unless you have doppelgangers, I suppose. Yeah, so as you mentioned it in all your recent videos, your son. So how's he doing? How's the little one?
He's doing a lot better now. My wife and I, we had a scare last week. We're between 5 and 6 days. Our son would just throw up basically an entire bottle right after feeding, right during feeding, and it was every day for a period of 5 to 6 days. We took him to the doctor, and then obviously then took him to the hospital, and we were worried that it was pyloric stenosis, which is a problem with the stomach sphincter, and the only way to correct it is with surgery. So we really didn't want him to have yet another surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned out it wasn't that. We got home, basically he's still in the same high calorie formula, but what we've been doing is pausing between. So if he's taking 4 ounces, we would have him suck down 2 ounces, then pause, wait usually between 5 to 10 minutes, and then give him the rest of the. And that seems to be doing the trick. He's only thrown up twice now
But yeah,
since then,
well,
in
much
the
better.
last week and a half. So
Yeah, my little girl was the same way when she was a few weeks up, actually up to about 3 months. She was spitting up a lot, and it was causing a growth stunt. Like she was in the 10th percentile. She wasn't gaining weight. She went 30 days without gaining a pound because she was spitting up so much, and so we had to change her diet and make sure that she's keeping it all down. That way she can gain weight, and that she did. So now she's a lot better now. Now she's almost 10 months old. So yeah, it's just one of those phases. You have to take it, as it hits you. So hope for the best for that little guy. It's cute.
yeah, he's a fighter. He's well, yeah, because he usually throws hands sometimes when we're feeding him, so he's a fighter. But yeah, he's doing good.
Now, is he affecting your gameplay at all?
No, not so much my gameplay. And the reason being is my gameplay is actually usually 100% which is very odd. But
Is when
I work an overnight is
when
when I'm
you're
at work.
Okay.
Yeah. I my job allows me I'm allowed to be on the computer or basically on my phone to play the game while I'm at work. It's an overnight shift. I work on a highway for the Turnpike Authority, and my area is just very low traffic during the overnight. So it allows me to get on the game and play while I'm working.
Nice.
I usually try to not do any big fleet actions or CTAs during the day. This way I can spend more time with my family and work on the show. And
Cool. So you said you played the beta. How did you get into Eve Echoes?
I got into Eve Echoes because I played Eve Online for a long time. I've actually been away from Eve Echoes, I would say, for the last 7-8 years.
You mean
And
Eve
when
Online?
I learned, Eve Online. Sorry, Eve Online. Yeah. So when I found out that they were having a mobile version come out, I was like, oh, I'm definitely doing this. Everyone's gonna be starting on a level playing field. You don't have to worry about skill injectors. You won't have to worry about, coming in when when everyone else has all these skills. And that's what happened when I came into Eve Online. Um, like all the people I played with, they were higher ups, and I was just this one lone dude that didn't know what he was doing skill wise, or So I was always playing tackle, and until your skill is elevated. But I what alerted to me was the fact that it was just everything was going to be fresh. The no block situation is going to be fresh and evolving, not stagnant like it is right now in Eve Online. So, and that's what drew me in. Currently, I think the only game I was playing on the phone was Marvel Strike Force, and I was like, well, this is a lot more, a lot more fun, especially if they're bringing everything from Eve Online over into Eve Echoes.
Right. Maybe not everything, but a lot of
Well,
the.
not everything. I mean, obviously, no one wants the Titan blob, but unfortunately, they will be bringing those in.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about those in August.
Yeah. Oh, I already have a question out to the devs. I'm waiting for them to answer in the senior content creator section. I'm like, you know, during their last Q&A, they actually posted that they're coming out with Dreadnoughts first, and then they will be bringing out Auxiliary Force as well as Titans, down the line. But they want the Dreadnoughts to feel different. So my question is like, well, how do you want them to feel different? Do you want them to feel different than Eve Online's purpose? Do you want them to feel different than find the ships that you have in the game, like where it's more epic because you're now in a capital ship? Like, I was confused by their statement, and I'm still, waiting for an answer.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we'll just have to play the waiting game and see what happens to it when they come out. So
It's definitely it's always how it is the waiting game.
yeah. So what made you decide to start a YouTube channel and become a content creator?
It was actually Sovereign, to tell you the truth. I started talking to Sov back in the beta, and he was playing since the alpha. And I started watching some of his videos, and I'm like, I think I could do this. And when I was playing Eve Online, I was always fascinated and was an avid consumer of the Matani's news network. From going, he would always put out, this is what's going on in the null block situation, and here's these big wars that are happening, and I wanted to be somewhat like that. I wanted to have an outlet that people can go to and be like, well, I don't play and know what's happening out there. What big entities are ruling, what territories, who's fighting currently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want to do. That's why I named it, Echoes from the Front. So I figured, it's like the front lines of war, and this is what's going on out in Null. And that's why there's a massive during my show. There's like what I think most people come to is for the community news section to see exactly what's going on and what, weird things are happening with all these coalitions and alliances.
Right. Yeah. Not for me personally. When you go over like the game announcements and stuff, I'm like, okay, I know this, I know this, I know this. But I think the real yeah, the meat of it for me is what's going on between so and so alliance versus so and so alliance. What's going on with this dispute, or what is this new dispute I've never heard of, and I want to look more into that. Stuff like that. That's what I find interesting about your show.
Yeah, and then I would do, just community news, and I think I once tried that. I think I just tried doing a few shows that were just patch notes and then the community news, and it's like, it's just a lot of work. I'll just throw it all together. I just felt like, if I'm calling it a new show, that is the news of what's happening each week. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just throw that little blurb in there along with, how's Plex doing this week, and just the little tidbits in the beginning, and then we get into the meat and potatoes of the show.
Right. Yeah. Well, do you like doing this? I suppose, some content creators probably get a little bored of doing this stuff every week, but what about you?
It's a love and hate relationship, really. I love doing it. I do have a lot of fun doing it. I love finding out everything that's going on in Null. Obviously, I do find out stuff that's OPSEC, and obviously, I tell people for you could come to me, tell me the story, but if you say, this is what happened at this point, but cut this out. This is OPSEC. I'm like, okay, well, we'll just run the story of, the other section. And I try to balance every story with, all right, these people came to me and talked about that. So, okay, let me try to reach out and talk to those people and get their side of the same story. And this way I wouldn't come off as, I'm just propagating someone's lie.
Right.
Um, but the love-hate relationship is I love doing the show. I hate writing the script.
Right.
It's I I hate it. I hate it with a passion. And just sitting there like, oh, I could be playing right now. I could be doing a roam, but no, I got to write this story.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing. But I enjoy bringing it, and I know I'm surprised, and people wonder why I am, but I am so surprised that people watch my show. That I actually have like 3,000 plus subscribers of
Yeah.
people wanting to see what's going on. That took me much time. I didn't even think when I did the first couple shows, I was like, this isn't going to take off. I'm not going to get those numbers, and then things just skyrocketed. I think it was after the third episode actually when Joseph put it out on social media. And that's when the goon split happened. The whole heist with Valador, and then you had the whole split of Goon Sworn Federation to three different entities, and they were all vying for power. Of no, we're the real goons. No, no, we're the real goons. So,
Who's the real
but
goon?
yeah. So that's actually what actually I think pushed me to the forefront. Um, and that was the really that was the show that really hit the big numbers. And then since then, it's just I've been hitting constantly over 2,000 views, each week per video.
Yeah, nice. And nobody else is really, I don't think anybody else is really hitting that. At least with any of the other content creators, they just have either ship fit videos or battle scenes, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why I also wanted to do this too. And it was something different than everyone else is doing. I tried my hand at doing a tutorial, and it was shit. I admit it, I did two tutorial videos, and they were garbage. People liked them, but they were garbage. And it didn't click with me. Um, so it was like, let me do this. Let me see what gossip I can find, what sources I can cultivate, and get that information out to people. And that's really what took off. Um, I do get. I mean, I get jealous sometimes. I see, Benzie and Gil Forte doing these fit shows, and this look at these new functions, and we're gonna spend 40 minutes talking about this new thing, and I'm like, I couldn't do that. I could, but it would just be a pale imitation of what they're doing.
Right.
Um, but yeah, and that's the thing. Like with the news, it's pretty much straightforward. It's trying to be, walk that fine line of truth and unbiased, um, and trying not to piss everyone off.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and that was the other thing because I know Sovereign even tried doing the news for a while, and I was like, okay, you're doing the news, I'm doing the news. I talked to him about it. I'm like, do you want I'll start featuring your bits at the end of my show this way, because he was doing like these quick hits, and he stopped doing it because of all the hate he was getting from I think Genesis pilots and other pilots, and he got badgered into stop doing it. And he even said to me, he's like, you keep doing this. Why you keep doing this? I'm like, I just have a don't give a fuck attitude. I don't care. People can be mad at me, but this is, I'm still gonna put it out there. I just, you can say what you want. You're not gonna deter me from getting it out there. And I think that's what kind of resonated with a lot of people.
Right. Well, we have more to come up. We'll talk about some of this biasness here later in the show, but going back, you did mention senior content creator. What is the benefit of being a senior content creator? Well, first of all, to answer this, so when did you start? So you started creating content in what, say August or slightly
The
before?
first week of the game launch is my first show.
So then what does it
So I
take
actually
to
have a
be,
show to be a
sorry.
senior content creator.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, as Joseph said it to me, because that's who ultimately has the decision. I can see if I actually pull up the conversation I have with him from back then. But basically, what it is, you have to have solid numbers. a subscriber base that keeps climbing, a community backing, as well as I guess a quality product putting out there. Basically, they want to make the senior content creators based on how much views you're getting, how much of the game you're pushing out there for people. Basically, promoting the game itself.
Okay. I thought it was just like a time, like oh, you've been creating content for 8 months. Here's a senior
Well,
content creator.
that's a part of it too, but there's still people that have been putting the work in, um, since alpha, since before me, that aren't senior content creators. But then again, you also have they've covered content creators, not just videos, but we also have guys that do tools, spreadsheets, um, everything like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
that was the ultimate in decision because Sovereign actually recommended me to become a senior content creator. And like Z God actually just became a senior content creator, I think within the last month, and he's been doing this since pre-alpha.
Wow. Needless to say, I have a long way to go.
Well, it's as like I said, with the steady climb and the rise of it, that's basically what they look for. They look to see exactly how fast everything is moving with your channel, and they go from there. I've actually had conversation with Joseph actually contacting me like, hey, I'm just curious, what's going on with the political aspect of what's going on in this area, and I'm like, okay, well, sit down, let me tell you what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, the benefits though, there are actual benefits to becoming a senior content creator. Um, let's see here. Yeah, I just found the conversation with me doing it with him. But yeah, that's what they're looking for, and they want quality. So that was one of the things he said. I had to bump up my audio, which yeah, my audio still isn't the best in the world, but I manage. As soon as I'm gonna get a new device, probably in November, along with a tablet, and that'll make things a little bit easier. Um, but yeah, the benefits of it is they allow the senior content creators to give away 4 free Omega combos a month. So
Hmm.
each week that you're putting out, information, you're allowed to give away for prizes. And I think they're just going to start opening that up to regular content creators too. I saw that message in the regular content channel earlier this week.
Sweet. I could start
The other
holding some
thing is,
contests.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And one of the other benefits is we get information a little bit earlier, um, which and I hate to say it like this, but this is why I think this is another reason why people come to my show is because they keep me on as an official content creator, even though I bash them a bunch of times, and that's because I don't hold punches. Like I'll call them out on stuff that they're doing. What I meant by that is we ask for information, and you've seen it in the regular content channel. We ask for information, and it's like a drought. It's like pulling teeth to get info, so that when we do get that info, the senior content creators actually get it just a little bit before the regular content creators.
Right.
Like we got the scanning information a day before you guys got it. That's how Benzi got his video up. I think within like 40 minutes of getting the information. 40 maybe an hour or so. Benji's good like that. I mean,
Yeah.
props to Benzi. Like, and I know he's got a lot of haters out there, and I joke around with him, memes. I borderline joke around with it, but you can't deny what he does. He churns out the videos. I know a lot of people don't like his fits or whatever, but the thing is, he's doing it. He is putting it out there. But yeah, we get the information just like a little bit earlier than you guys, and I think that's always been the case. I don't know. We haven't really had any other special things in the senior area. It just gives you another chat room on the Discord to talk to the senior content creators as opposed to talking to everyone.
Right.
Um, but basically, the information that we learned there, we share with the other channel anyway.
Is Joseph more chatty in that one? Because every time I message him, I get crickets.
No, dude, trust me, it's not just you. I've asked questions a bunch of times, and they are usually ignored. and that's probably because of how I I bash them sometimes, to be honest. But yeah, that's just a thing too. It is crickets. Like it really is pulling teeth to get the information we get to get it out to people. Um, the even the like I said, the fulmination server, the senior content creators got it at the same time the regular content creators got it. I think I've spent all of an hour on it since its launch months ago.
Hmm.
Because I just don't do things in there. If I'm gonna play the game, I'd rather just do it on live. I don't make fake videos, so I don't have to test out the new things.
Right.
Um, I just and with the baby and everything else, I just don't have the time.
Yeah, plus like some of the
But
stuff that I want to test, I need multiple people for it. And so it's like who am I going to contact to help me test something? So
yeah,
it's just not enough people on there to really do stuff like
well,
that.
I tried doing something like that a couple months ago, back in I think around December, November. I wanted to do uh, a CC tournament. You know what I mean? Have everyone on the Fulmination server just have a tournament, fighting which content creator will get the top marks for, for the fight. And I figured it could be an annual thing. I thought it was a great idea. But then, things with my wife's health was turning with the baby because it was a very high risk pregnancy, and things with the job. I didn't have the time to follow through with it, so it kind of just fell by the wayside. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people would be interested in that. I mean, if you would run something like that, dude, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would jump on board with that.
Well, I know
And it generates.
Elementary Gaming was doing that, and I guess
Mhm.
appeared on a couple of his episodes for that. And ultimately, he ended up going to another game and doing content creation for that game. But he
Yeah.
had about 10 or 12 content creators on his show doing ship fits and doing a tournament style type PvP in Fulmination. So I got to star in a couple of those episodes, and then time frames are a little bit difficult for me at times.
hmm Yeah, same here. It's like everyone's on a different schedule, so it's kind of hard to link up with everybody.
Yeah, well, you're
Um,
playing with people around the world. I mean, if he's in South
yeah,
Africa, and then we had Havoc, and he's in the U.S., but we had another CC. He was in UK, and it's just trying to get everybody together is a bit rough. So
yeah. And it's a shame that we lost so many content creators. And yeah, it's no fault of their own. It's the name of the game. If those full time content creators, such as Element and a few of the others, they go where the views are. If viewership is declining on these videos, they'll just move to another game. That's why Rev from Revs Ravers, Reavers. Anyway, his pirate outfit. He came from Star Trek Online, um, that mobile game, and he came over to this game, and his viewership declined. And he's a full-time content creator. That's his job. So he basically shifted all views. He dropped Echoes after several months, and then just moved right back to Star Trek because that's where he was making his money. That's where his viewer base was. And it's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. And and it's cyclical. Like we have player decline right now, but as soon as they release the new content patch with scanning, I'm pretty sure a bunch of people are going to come back and try it out,
mhm.
and then drop back off again until something new comes back, and we get more people back. But you don't really see a lot of advertisement for the game. It's kind of word of mouth. It's a niche game, and yeah, that's pretty much how it rolls right now.
And
So
then
we
yeah,
got to kind of
naturally.
keep we got you got to kind of keep the content creators we have, uh, so we can just try to perpetuate the game. We're after the that's why we're after the devs so much to give us information so we can hype up the game, to try and get that player base.
You got a new series coming out with other content creators. Explain what that's going to be about.
Oh yeah, that's it's gonna be a new series called Pod Sessions. So it's a riff on like a podcast, but it's gonna be on the channel, and it's gonna feature content creators, known people throughout the community, alliance leaders, kind of like how you do yours, but it's not an interview at all. It's basically all it is it's two people coming online. we have not even a script. It's completely unscripted, uncensored. It's one topic. Say we pick up, okay, let's talk balancing, and we're gonna see where it goes. We're gonna see where it takes us. It could start off balancing, and it could end off with what happened in the war 6 months ago.
Hmm.
We don't know, but that's basically the premise of the show. It's just basically two people coming together and just talking and seeing where it leads.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. That and similarly, if you remember back when in season 1 of Echoes of New Eden with Joni, we had a series called Pilot Talk that we did a number of episodes for, and that was basically what that was. It was just we see who we can get to sit down and just have a chat. No real big topic. If they had something to educate us about, sure. But it was just a lot of BSing and just having fun. Did I
Yeah,
lose
that's
you?
basically
Okay.
the same. No, I'm here. Sorry, this is basically the same premise. Yeah, that's when you had the VFCs on, so that was a great series. Um, but yeah, it's just basically picking each other's brains. Like we would get on, like I'd have you on the show and be like, okay, let's pick one topic and we'll go from there. Let's talk about the devs, and then we'll see where it
Yeah.
brings us. You know.
Yeah, I'll talk forever. I could talk for hours.
Oh, I know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Same
So
here. People yell at me. I don't shut up on comms.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So in this recent meme contest, you stated it in your video that you placed what, third? That's a pretty
Third
good
place,
payout
yeah.
for third place, 1.5 bill.
Yes, and eventually, if I ever get it, that's not a slight at Karen or anything like that, because I know they're still working on it. But yeah, I'm eternally poor in the game, so that 1.5 bill will go a long way.
Wow,
Especially if
that'll buy you half a Mockriel. Yeah,
yeah. Well, I'm looking to buy. I'm looking to eventually
actually,
run,
let me
a
correct
carriel.
myself. I think it'll buy you half of the blueprint.
Yeah.
I think the
Maybe
mocks are going like
some
six
of the
plus.
debris,
Yeah,
which is the only thing good coming out of Angel Space these days.
right. Well, that's cool.
But yeah, it was a good contest. It was a lot of fun. Um, I think uh, the contest was more fun during the week because it was just the contest itself was a meme with the way Karen was just pinging at everyone every single day, multiple times a day,
Right.
just basically cracking the whip, being like, "I want some
More
good
memes,
memes.
more memes,
These all
more memes.
suck."
Right. I think it lasted. I think it was too long. The time frame that he had, it was something like 10 days. Like holy
uh,
smokes.
7 days. It was from Sunday to
7.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
still. And after
it was still a long
it
day.
was good for the first few days, and then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, what are we gonna talk about now? Like we memed everything, it's either stirring shit or making fun of people or whatever propaganda is going around or did go around. I mean, there's a meme for
Yeah,
it, and it was posted probably. So, I mean,
yeah, and that
toward the
actually
end of it, it
it
was
it,
like, yeah,
it actually perpetuated the conversation. Good memeing versus cancel culture because like oh, I hate to say it like that, but Benzi is a popular target for memes and whatnot, and just the toxic conversations that came from some of those memes was just unbelievable.
oh, that's right.
In
You
the
did show
future,
those in your show. Some of
yeah,
the
I mean,
comments.
in the future, in the future, I would say that they should run it less. You know what I mean? They should less days.
Hmm.
Maybe 4 days would be good. I think.
Yeah, it's
One
not
second.
too
Sorry,
long. Okay.
I got an interceptor trying to get one of my retrievers here. And I'm out. However, the blue that was there is probably going to die. Okay, but I'm safe. I'm
That's
sorry
all
to
that
get like that, but
matters.
my ships are okay.
Yeah, I think 4 days is probably a good amount of time. It's not
Yeah,
too
4 days would
terribly
be good.
long. You still have a couple days of fresh memes, and then not everybody's bored after, so many days. So
Yeah, and then you'll have at least a solid crew. A solid 4 days. So you may not be able to put something in first 2 days, but at least you don't have to wait another 6 days.
right. So I want to turn the tide here, and I was gonna ask you how you do your news and research. Is it a lot of bugging people? Do you have to annoy a lot of people to get the answers you want or get a answer?
In the beginning, it was actually. In the beginning, it was just basically cultivating relationships with everyone throughout New Eden. Um, yeah, at first it was building relationships with everyone throughout the game. Genesis, I talked to Korinsky, Mamasaurus Rex, talked to a few line pilots. Same with every other alliance out there. And then eventually just got to the point where I would just beat them down with questions. And then people like this news show, and then I would just get people just hitting me up with anonymous sources. Hey, did you hear about this? What this happened? Oh, okay. Well, let me go dig into it. Then there, with some of the bigger alliances, there have been some whistleblowers with some big stories. Like the I sat on that honk story for like 6 months since November. The
Hmm.
one where they got the medal
Right.
because of the duping, and that was asked to me because I even ran that past the devs. This is the story that came to me. Like, yes, can you not run this right now until we get everything worked out? So, and that's why that story ran like 6 months late. But I'll do that for people. Stuff like I want everyone to feel that comfortable with coming to me with information. I'm not going to blow OPSEC or security. So I'm not. I don't have spies, unfortunately. I've actually talked to Evil Darkness a bunch of times, saying I would like to have be a spy, but unfortunately my voice is a little bit well known, so they'll know it's me on voice comms right off the bat.
Nice.
Um, and Slippy Slappy is the head spy, but yeah, I but but uh but yeah, that's basically how I get my news now. Is I'll find pilots that'll come tell me, or I'll find stuff, propaganda wise, post on Reddit, and then I'll go through the comments where people were defending or propagating whatever, and then I'll just dig into that story and see if what actually happened. Um, Other times, other content creators will have like big fights, like Tahini. He sends me videos each week of their fights, so I'll put those up there. But that's basically what it is. I mean, it's hard work in the beginning, but then after a while, it's people actually just come to you with the news stories. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, with the new patch, with the balancing and now everyone's waiting for scannings, like this week currently, it's a slow news cycle because everyone's just retrying the new modules. Everyone's trying to farm to get these
Mm-hmm.
the burst modules, and then try them out, and people are re-changing up their fleets to see exactly which composition works best. So there's not really a lot happening. I mean, currently, the only thing I know is there's a warp citadel that got blown up today, and it was killed by warp. Uh, um, Pantheon was coming into OG space. They took a shield timer. Um, there are two hull timers for this weekend. So we'll see exactly what happens with those if they're able to save those citadels or not. But other than that, there's not really a lot of uh, other news stories, big news stories that's really hitting.
Right.
You can even see that through the Reddit threads when there's a lot of Reddit threads of people just discussing the new mechanics you know asking questions. There's nothing really going out and no because there's no propaganda storm
Mm-hmm.
flying around.
I mean, aside from the Southern War, what really else is going on? You got the war in the
Really, there's
North,
nothing. I
but
mean, because
it's pretty quiet
the
up
war in the
there.
north is pretty much over. Fireflies they're not dead, but they're laying low. But I don't believe they have any more citadels up there. So uh, Silent Alliance or Silent Federation now, because they have their own coalition in the north, basically secured peace in the north. They moved Triple V out. Fireflies are dead. PIBC they pushed out. So basically, it's very quiet up there. So they're enjoying the peaceful life going on. However, they are having some issues with No, because I know Fish and Tahini are hitting them for fun. I don't think they're on any contract, but they're for fun. And I said it before. I know Silent Alliance they're neutral with Pantheon, but they are blue with Genesis. If now that they don't have anything keeping them in the north, if they decide to move south and help Genesis and Pantheon against the Content Coalition, that's gonna be a hard win right there because you got these three huge entities now
Mm-hmm.
bearing down on them.
Yeah, until it seems like they'd have to bend the knee.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people say to me too. Is like, I think we're going to talk about it in another segment, but like, how do I balance that? With Terran Federation, when I was in Terran Federation, well, how was I not skewing the news, you know, in that favor? And I, from the beginning when I made the channel, I told the corporation CEO as well as the alliance CEO is like, listen, it's I have my personal feelings about everything, but I'm not going to hold back. If we screw up, it's going to be broadcast. I'm going to put it out there. I'm not going to hide the truth. If we do a victory, I'm going to put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have done that in the past. Like when Terran Federation has screwed up, and I love illegal because that was like my first big love in the game. I put it out there. You know, and that's where the whole bias comes in, where people, if there's bad stories or there's a reasoning behind a story that people don't like, they call it bias. Like the whole, I can give an example, the Spice Factory, that was Dune's outpost before Citadels came into the game, was killed up in, I think was it 7BIX? It might have been, but it was up in Fountain, and that got killed. And then another outpost post in the same system by Dune the following day also got killed. And I broadcast that it was a screw up, and because it was one player from Dune who decided he wanted to put an outpost up, and I guess didn't know what was going on in the area,
Hmm.
and he got it destroyed. And that's why there was no defense on it either, because yeah, we didn't know. He put the Citadel up. But yeah, when you're doing a story against somebody, those people are saying that you're biased. If you're doing a story that's not, then it's that's why I don't give a shit.
Hmm.
I don't know. I put it out there. It, I'm not. I'm. I don't think I'm biased. I know a lot of people feel I'm biased at certain points, but like, what are you gonna do? At the end
Right.
of the day, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's not intentional. You're given info to report on, and for all you know, it could have been false, unless you dig. You dig and you actually confirm some of the things that are going on around, and then you don't know if it's true or not. So, but that
And that's
could people be feeding you false info just to stir some shit? It could be possible, and
yeah,
then
and
get
that's
you in
and that's
trouble.
why I'm such a that's why I'm such a big proponent of trying to get the API kill board, the what EVE Online has out there for the game. This way, every death is recorded. Every battle is recorded. You can see exactly what got destroyed, who won the fight, what happened. It's right there. In fact, you don't have to wait for someone to post a kill mail, or if they have a loss mail and they don't feel like putting it up because they're embarrassed by their loss. So your numbers at that point will be true. Today, yeah, we have the kill bot, but you're still relying on each player to post their kill mail or their loss mail. So it's everything. All numbers have to be taken with a grain of salt.
Right. So we'll get into the next segment here, separating content creation from your corporate alliance roles. Does your corp or alliance say, "Hey, I'm flying with the Daemonxel, so what's up? We're better."
No, it's
What do
it's
they
not so
think?
much that. I mean, it's more of the fact that it's a running gag when I'm doing a roam with someone, and you know how people do, they troll in the local. Like OG's thing is that OG is recruiting. So after a fleet engagement, I usually put up in local, be sure to check out the new episode of Eve Echo's weekly news update this week.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
and I even tell the alliance, they're like, there's no token logo. I'm like, hey, it's just a shameless plug,
Yeah, you're just plugging your own show.
But I've had people I've flown with on comms, and they're like, dude, why is your voice so familiar? And people are like, dude, he runs the news show, and he's like, oh, I know you.
Right?
But yeah, it's nothing, no big deal. Like I'm just a line pilot like everyone else. I don't have any special roles in my alliance or in my corporation itself. Uh, I used to be when I was with Atlas, I was a recruitment officer. But yeah, I'm just a regular pilot like everyone else, following orders.
Do people
And
join
it's just
Do people join with you to fly with you?
No, I don't. I don't really have that much. It's there's cliques with everyone. Like we'll do some small, roaming gangs and bling fleets. But I don't run them. I just join other people's. Uh, I actually haven't FC'd in the game since before November, and that was only small gate camps. Um, I don't, with my job and everything else, I can't dedicate the time to be an FC. Um, so I just join in with other people, and you know they know me. It's like I'm just like one of the guys who just happens to run a channel,
Right. Yeah. So what do you like to
and then it's
do in
just
the game?
and it's just fun. Like, um, well, I used to like bubbles, but
Right?
since that joy has been taken away from me, um, I was really looking forward to running that Thorax, the T10 Hector, but like I said, the Hectors have been neutered completely for solo. Utility wise, every fleet still needs one. It being just utility is no fun for me, so I wouldn't want to fly it.
Yeah.
So I've actually reskilled out. It costs 480 plex to completely skill out of bubbles. Um, but yeah, I'm completely skilled out of bubbles now, and so if anyone's looking for a Cormorant 2 interdictor or a RB Hector, they will be up on the market in Jita very soon.
I had a I had a member who had bought a Bellicose Dictor and a full bling fit, and then the update happened, and then he asked for his money back. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, I keep saying that if they brought the true hacks into the game, because they do have, if you look at the skill tree, they do have ships they call the heavy assault cruisers, but they're not the true heavy assault cruisers from EVE Online. Like you had the Ishtar, you had the Demos, um, a few, each race had one, and if they brought those out at the same time that they did the change to the interdictors and heavy interdictors, I don't think it would have been that much of an outrage. But yeah, it's just one of those things that they did and didn't really give a reason to why they did it.
Hmm.
So, and when I asked about this, I did have a conversation with, I wasn't sure if it was Joseph or someone, but apparently there is a disparity between Eastern players, Chinese players, as well as European and U.S. players. Whereas in the Chinese gamers, they're used to these changes being done and they just roll with it. They don't question it. It's just this is how we play. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Whereas us as U.S. players and European players, when there's heavy changes, we like to know the reason behind those changes. We like to know why you're doing this, and that's just a disconnect between the two cultures.
Hmm. Yeah, we do a lot more questioning. So, what are your thoughts on this Southern War? You are indeed part
I
of the
Yes, I am.
CC. What's
Yeah,
going
I
on
am
down
in the
there?
part. Eh, It's a point of view, really. Who's winning, who's losing. Most people would say that the content coalition is holding their own. Pantheon is with Genesis is doing the squeeze in the South. Um, I think right now it's kind of like a stalemate. Really, we'll see what happens with these timers that happen this weekend. Um, in my opinion, the content coalition needs to go on an offensive, show that it has some teeth instead of just seem like it's getting beat up all the time. Um, that's how I view it. Like there needs to be some kind of concerted effort to hit enemy structures and not just trade shield timers because it's a shield timer. You hit it with an interceptor fleet, take the shields down, no one's gonna care. But once you get pushed into structure, that's when the game changes. That's when you can actually say, "Hey, we have a victory. We have a solid victory."
Hmm.
And we haven't really had any of that in the last couple weeks, and that's pretty much where it is right now. It's just stale.
In the last couple of weeks, what would you say the largest local count of a fight has been? 1,000 plus people.
Well, there was supposed to be one of those fights this past weekend. Uh, I think it was a Warp Citadel coming in out of structure. But Pantheon was caught off guard when apparently the Content Coalition hired No to hit them, and they got hit up in their form, the form up. But before that, I think the last biggest one I've been in was it wasn't that big. It was I think the total number of system was between 400 and 500 players.
Okay.
The last biggest battle I think happened before the Golden Horde, blew up. It's been that long since we've had one of those, fully capped out 1,200 player fights.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. That's WX.
Yeah,
Um,
that was WX was I think the last biggest fight.
yeah. And then the one before it, ZID, that was the biggest fight. And that
Yeah,
had
that was
the tie-dye.
Mm-hmm.
But WX didn't have that, I don't think. Or maybe it did, but not to the extent ZID did.
No, not to the extent it was. Yeah, it was with ZID it went up to tie-dye 6.
Yeah.
I think with WX I think it went tie-dye 3, and it was only for it was only for a short amount of time too.
But otherwise, it's pretty much settled down. So, yeah, it's the Content Coalition just seems like you're playing defense. You need some big wins to turn that motivation into something good.
That's basically what I've been saying. Unfortunately, I'm not part of leadership, so
Yeah.
my voice doesn't. I don't really have an opinion, or my thoughts aren't really carried over.
So let's talk about some of the upcoming changes to the game. Some upcoming updates. What do you know?
No scanning's coming out,
Yes.
and with scanning, that means that changes how dead spaces are going to be farmed.
Yes.
I like the fact that the scanning is completely different than EVE Online. You no more have to screw around with and those probes were a nightmare. I know because I used to run the hidden anomalies and EVE Online all the time. They were fun, the data sites. But you'd have to use these 6 probes and align them in a diamond formation and keep bringing them tight. It was a pain in the ass. At least this one is just, you press a button, you get a bunch of waveform patterns, like 6 waveform patterns. You've narrowed down on the one you're trying to zoom in, and then you have to filter out noises by matching up and excluding, some of the wave patterns that you have until you get a true signal. And then you'll be able to, get a warp in on that situation. And that's how the dead spaces are going to work. They did hint at other anomalies working the same way, but we don't know what's going on with those anomalies. What they're, are there going to be just, say a regular T10 anomaly, large, medium, small, but possibly with some faction ships in it? We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the dead spaces are going to change. And this is where we're going to be getting the, from what I gather, the A and B type weapons and modules. Now, I don't know if they completely abandoned the idea. What they wanted to do originally was you would break down your C types and you would use the data cores from these new dead spaces, combine them together to make a B type weapon and make an A type weapon, kind of like a, kind of like a crafting system. I
Okay.
don't know if they abandoned that or not. We won't know until we get we actually get the test scanning. Now, they did also talk about 9-width space, which is what they're referring to as wormholes. Now, we don't know if, if that's just going to be the dead space or if they're actually going to have the entry points into wormhole space available. Because when EVE Online first came out with their scanning back in the day, wormholes weren't part of it at the time of launch. It was a much later feature. So I can see them going the same route as that. And then past that, once we get scanning a month afterwards, we're going to be getting we're going to get those freighters. Everyone's going to be hitting T10. You're going to get those freighters. We're going to get the Sino field generators, and we're going to get dreadnoughts. Now the Sino fields are great. They're going to allow you to jump multiple systems at a time. You're going to have to use fuel to use it, but I don't know if that's going to work different than EVE Online, because back in the day, you would just put a Sino generator on like a covert ops ship, fly it behind enemy lines, light the Sino, and all of a sudden, enemy fleet right behind your gate camp in your home system. So Now they do say that you're going to get your freighters like around June, July, and then they talk about other freighters coming out the same time dreadnoughts are coming out. Now, my theory on that is that these are going to be your jump freighters because they're a little bit different than your regular, your obelisk and stuff like that. They were jump freighters where they can actually, you would just use the two ships and make a jump bridge. So as far as that, that's all I know that's coming out. Titans will be following probably a year later, or at least 6 months after dreadnoughts. They talked about force auxiliary ships coming after dreadnoughts and carriers as well. That's what I'm really looking forward to flying. But other than that, there's really not a lot of talk. I'd like to see him involve more PvE content. Like one of the favorite things I used to do in EVE Online was something called incursions, which was basically a dead space that would just randomly appear, and it would just be in space. And anyone that played EVE Online, it's basically the same thing, but it's just wave after wave of really heavy, massive ships. And you would need fleets of battleships to take these on, along with dedicated logi and everything else. Those were really fun, massive ISK makers. And I'd really like to see him do something, what they've been talking to since launch about that new race where we get the Zhang Zing destroyer and the battle cruiser, and they're prototypes. I'd like to see them actually come out with other ships for that, that faction.
Right.
Other than that, that's what we have to look forward to. There's really nothing beyond the August anniversary update that I've seen.
Right.
or
But
know
also,
about.
don't we have like a version 3.0 insurance coming? There's an arena that's been talked about.
The arena, which they will be having a kill board for. It's not an API kill board, but they have worked on a kill board for the arena. It's going to be a leaderboard basically. So there's that feature. That arena is going to be coming out. And what was the other thing you said? Sorry, my brain shot.
Insurance 3.0.
Oh yeah, that's probably why, because it's insurance, and I've given up on insurance since version 1 came out. So it's like it's insurance. So somewhat I still follow it as kind of like the death of industry a little bit. They can make it a little better, but really, like, there's no harm in losing your ship these days. Like I remember back before insurance, I lost a Myrmidon. I'm like, oh god, it took me so long to build up the materials to build this thing. Now I got to start from scratch again. And now all it is just, I just need some insurance points. Poof, I got my ship back. So it's I hate to say it, but it really is. It really did a gut punch to industry, and I don't know how they're going to recover from that, no matter how many iterations of insurance they come out with. And that's one reason why the war has dragged on for so long, is because of insurance, because it doesn't matter anymore. You can really occupy someone's space and you can blow up all their ships, but what's the point if they don't have to mine? All they got to do is, use Plex to get their ship back.
Right. Yeah,
So.
it's pretty stagnant in that sense. Yeah. Well, sir, do you got anything else that you'd want to talk about? Otherwise, we'll go into the closing thoughts and shoutouts.
I think we touched on basically everything, other than people still send me those kill mails, and I'll get them up on the show. Big kills as well as solo kills, each week's specifically, because I have people sometimes sending me a kill mail from like 2 weeks ago, and the contest runs from episode to episode, so it has to be within that week. Other than that, no, just if you have a story if you have something going on with your corporation or alliance or anything like that, send me the information. We'll get you up there on the news. You had a big fight. You're proud of something. Drop me a line. I'll get it up there. And I'm always doing the corporation and alliance spotlights now. So if you want your corporation out there, as well as I'm running the new bounty system, where if people are running bounty boards or have a bounty out on someone, they can send me the information. I'll put it out there.
Got any shoutouts?
Yeah. Shout out to Weird Bob and all the guys over in Evo 1. That's my group that we fly with. You can find us pretty much every night in Delve and in Fountain. I know the Pantheon loves us over there. Other than that, just a shout out to basically everyone in game. Everyone sends me shout outs whenever I'm in their space. So, well, I enjoy playing with everyone and dying by everyone. So,
Well, there you go. All right, man. Well, thanks for chatting with me today and, having a good time talking about the game we love and content creation and all that. I really appreciate it.
anytime, anytime.
All right, man. Take care.
No problem.
Well, that wraps it up for this week. If you like the show, please review it on Apple Podcasts or on my Discord. Any feedback is appreciated. And this show is sponsored by RX2, Rage and Ruin. Zell and his team over at Rage and Ruin are a large community of players, mature EVE online vets from time zones all around the world. They enjoy all aspects of EVE Echoes. Their friendly and competitive gameplay has allowed them to create an awesome community. Learning the game can be difficult, so it is important to them to have a home where new players can enjoy the game. When in need, Rage and Ruin is about respectful, large-scale warfare content. I've personally flown with Zell and the team. They've been in some huge battles. Go check out Rage and Ruin and fly with some of the best. Also, Elantria over at Borg sponsors this show. We are Borg. We are family. That's their motto. They are a very large organization that has industry and mining, also PvP focused programs, just as top notch as some of them top notch corps out there. See what I did there? They look out for all their drones in the collective. They have a great community both in and out of the game. They have sci-fi fans, D&D fans, and fans of other RPGs. And there's always someone to talk to. You can become one with the Borg. Life in Nullsec is good, full of riches to be had, and you can be a part of it. Go check out Borg. Resistance is futile. And maybe if you're up to it, you can join my Discord. You can submit your very own corp ad, or you can just come by and show support and hang out. I'll leave that link in the description. Also, if you want even more EVE Echoes news and a deeper dive into what's going on around New Eden, go check out Daemonxel over on YouTube on his show Echoes from the Front, where he goes over game news, does weekly SOV updates, and much more. So that's it. Thank you everybody for listening. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you next week.